Right, shall we jump into it then?
Yeah, go on then, Tristan, you're clapping us in.
Loud one, Tristan. Louder than that. He needs to really pick it up. You saw how much I was struggling yesterday. Spent half an hour and I still haven't found the start.
I'm telling you, we need the gong.
That's better.
Welcome back to another episode of Rec Talk. Today we've got author of Top Biller, Steve Guest. Steve, how you doing?
I'm really good, thank you. Looking forward to having a good chat.
No, you come to the wrong place then, mate. So yeah, these chats are awful.
Yeah.
So Top Biller, how long ago has it been since you've done Top Biller?
So that was published November 2019.
Oh,
So,
God, that was a
yeah,
time before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah. To be fair, we were chatting off air, weren't we? It was as much as COVID was a horrible thing. I'm quite grateful that there was a lot of recruiters on furlough that needed to fill time and perhaps buy a book. So.
I didn't think there was that many recruiters that actually knew how to read, so that was pretty impressive.
There is an audio version.
That's it.
That was no plug, by the way.
So you got the audiobook as well?
There's audio for both, and I think I always made a pact in my head that if I'd sold enough paperbacks that paid for the audio, then I'd get it done. The original plan was to record the audio myself, but honestly, it is hard work, and I'd started to. And then COVID hit, and I didn't have any of the equipment. So the gentleman, Pete Morgan, who actually reads the audio, had said, you can do it at home, but you'd have to sit in a kind of darkened room.
Sound booth.
With a duvet over your head, over the sound system, and probably recording 30, 45-minute bursts. And I'm sat there thinking, do you know what, it's easy just to delegate.
Outsource this bit. Yeah,
Pete,
yeah.
would you like to do it? Because you've got all the equipment, so... Yeah, and he's actually done...
He's got a good voice as well, though.
I think he worked for the BBC Radio for about 30 years.
Right,
so.
okay.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Fair. Do you look back at it and think, maybe I should have done it?
Well, do you know what? For Personal Brand Story, I thought, well, you can't have a personal brand book and then get someone else to...
Yeah, the irony,
to read
itself,
it.
Right? Yeah.
And I think for about, 4 or 6 weeks, I was locking myself at the office and I was recording chapters and paragraphs and sending it across to Pete to have a look, and there was little tweaks that were wrong, or I would stutter in certain bits because it has to be exact. The person listening has to get the exact experience as if they were reading it.
Yeah.
I was finding I was having to go back over it.
Yeah, that's where I struggle
re-record it
really
and-
badly. Well, I'm not a very good reader in that sense, but...
It's just hard, and there's things like... I was taught a few good tips, to be fair. You're reading through, and if you make a mistake, if you tapped the desk 3 times, the person editing it knows that there's an issue there, and we've either got to go back and start the sentence again, and then go through
and
it.
you
But
sort of tap back into...
it was painful, and I'm not sure people want to listen to my brummy dulcet tones anyway. So
It might do, yeah.
maybe they're therapeutic in a way. I don't know.
You've got a very subtle tone about you. It's not like the standard Birmingham twang, is it?
A posh brummy, I like to call it.
Posh Brummy, yeah.
Although posh Brummy working in the construction world, though, right?
Yeah.
Construction
Sure.
recruitment world, technically, so...
Yeah.
Well, no, you got the property investment thing as well that you do, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose you just have to change the accent depending on who you speak to. You go a bit yam sometimes.
Yeah. Depending on which part of England you're speaking in. Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. Right, so you're now pushing a personal brand story. That's your focus now, right?
Yeah, so the Personal Brand Story was published middle of 21, July, August, I think, 21. And it was kind of wrote on the basis that the rise from Top Biller and the ability to promote that as an individual, I kind of documented the journey of what I did to promote me as a consultant, which I've kind of always done over the 18 years of recruiting. But it was also to try and highlight the fact that it doesn't come easy to most people. Some people really detest it and just never want to be in front of a camera anyway. And I'm not the type of person that likes to do all of those things, but I've done it because I could see an end goal behind why I was doing it.
Yeah.
So the book, I suppose, documents that and hopefully
That's
highlights.
not always visible, though, is it?
What, as in...
The end goal, right?
No, because the end goal for each individual would be different anyway.
So what was your end goal then, that kind of
I think
brought you into the Nitton's favourite term of personal brand.
Yeah, I mean, we had a brief chat, didn't we, before sitting down. So, as a recruiter, I always think personal brand's always been there, and we were discussing it was never called a personal brand when you first started.
You just got a term for it now. You had people that were just like who understood the nuances of social media marketing and building their own identity on LinkedIn for their network, for example, right? Yes, I work for insert big recruitment agency here. However, you're not dealing with them, you're dealing with me.
Yeah.
I know my stuff. I'm passionate about what I do. I know my candidates. I know my market, that kind of thing. And now we call it personal brand.
Yeah.
And the bit that gives me the ick about that is the fact that it's all about, I'm on a journey to build my personal brand and I really want to focus on my personal brand. And people go to these gurus and mentors to learn about their personal brand. It's like, your personal brand's personal to you. How the fuck is someone else going to tell you how to do your personal brand?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how you can run a course on that. So enlighten me, please.
I think so.
Without being horrible.
No, I was always told when I first started that the difference between me and any other recruiter is always going to be me. It's how I go about things. It's how you go and find the candidates no one else can find. How you promote the services from the recruitment aspects that you do. So I used to have a folder with testimonials in, client and candidate, and I'd take this folder to client meetings, and when they said, well, why would I use you over anyone else, I'd show them this folder, and so I'd always put their competitors at the top so that they could just see the kind of headed paper and think, oh, you're working with them. That was my way, I think, at the time of almost doing the social media element of this is what I do, this is who I work with.
You used to call it a brag file back in the day.
Yeah. And I think I'm not that kind of loud person that likes to shout from the hilltops and say, look at me, look how amazing I am. But I also think there's an element of showcasing what you do and how you do it from a strategic perspective that actually showcases to a wider audience that can attract them to you by saying, this is who I am. The benefit now of having things like social media means that when I would do a client meeting 18 years ago, it's one-to-one, and I talk about how I work and the processes I go through to find them the best people, or I find that candidate their ideal role. Now I can put a message out on social media and it goes to more than one person.
Yeah, I suppose the challenge for me, or the challenge back on that, would be that message is literally on social media for a matter of seconds, if at all.
Yeah.
And the test.
This is the point, right?
Yeah.
We've gone through this with our content creator, Bibi, who's an apprentice, and we've kind of taken snippets of the podcast and sort of condensed down a podcast to like 15 clips, and I've gone, right, pick the best 6 or 7 out of these and post them. And so she'll post 1 and 2, and I'll be like, what happened to the rest of them? She'll like, what, you want them all doing at the same time? Like, yeah, because what you're going to see very, very quickly is each audience will be different.
Yep.
You know, algorithms are complex, and the way people consume their content is different, right?
Yeah.
And so, whilst I agree with what you're saying, that a lot more people see what you put out about like a particular topic, but it's out there for a fraction of a second and then it's gone.
Yeah.
You know, case in point being, I was trying to find a post earlier and I was like, I can't find it.
Yeah.
Even the little snapshots that Bibi's putting out that come up on TikTok, I don't see it on my TikTok until maybe sometimes 2 or 3 days after it's actually gone into it's been posted out. So it doesn't hit my feed for a few days after. Sometimes a few weeks.
Yeah.
Because you're too busy watching little men like build swimming pools in the jungle. In the jungle. Yeah.
It's a funny
Those
thing.
videos are gripping.
I've heard lots of personal brand individuals that are promoting courses and various things, and they come out with the tactics of how they do things and when they post stuff and what they do and everything else. And I've just been a firm believer that I try and post twice a day, Monday to Friday, during breakfast, during lunch, where people are most active because they're switching off and scrolling through their feeds. And if I can post consistently enough every day, it will generate traffic to me, to my profile, and generate inbound leads. And from that, what I've done is I devised a plan where over those 10 posts, 7 of the posts are about the desk, the markets that I recruit in, highlighting and promoting what I do for a day job, which is recruit for commercial construction staff. 2 posts are about me as an individual. So it makes me more human. People can see that I do things outside of work, and I've got other adventures, things like all the branding and the books and the podcasts and stuff. And then I try and get one post out that's trending that will just bring other people that perhaps aren't in my connections.
Yeah.
And what I've done, because I've done that over such a long period of time, and I document the journey as well. My first video I put out, which was probably 2018, I think it took about 2 years of procrastination and thinking whether I'm just going to get ripped apart the moment I put my face out.
Do I want to do this?
Exactly. It's scary stuff. And I put it out, and then somebody challenged me to do 10 videos in 10 days on that post. And I kind of accepted it and then think, what do I do now? 10 videos in 10 days.
Yeah.
But it's the best thing I ever did, because it gets you over that worry, but it becomes almost habitual. And then people get to recognise who you are. And candidates and clients approaching me off the back of LinkedIn, I would say 70-75% of my placements last year were inbound off LinkedIn, without necessarily advertising or direct contact from me to start with.
Yeah.
And it's the fact that I'm consistently there. And I think what I wanted to do was build a level of network where you become that person people speak about. And you become that key person of influence. And if all I'm doing is spending 5 to 10 minutes of a morning, of an afternoon, while I'm eating my lunch and breakfast, and I'm just highlighting the fact I'm still here, this is what I do. If you want to get in touch, here's my details. It works.
It's very, so there's a bit there to kind of unpack in terms of the first part you mentioned there is it's all very methodical in terms of you've got a
lot of organisation and consistency.
A lot of KPIs, if you will, in the recruitment world, right? As in, like, I have to send this many of this, this many of this, this many of this. What led you to those figures in particular? Was it trial and error, or was it something you've come across?
I think it was something that was put out, I think, within the property circles that I was mixing in, and how they presented what they did, where they were looking for investors and promoting certain things. And it was called the 70-20-10 rule. So I was sat there thinking, well, how can I move that across into recruitment and use something similar? I suppose the overriding thought process is you're talking more about what you do, because that's the important bit of why you're doing it in the first place. The couple of bits are just to make it so that you're more approachable, but actually you can just talk a bit about you so people feel that connection. And the trending post is just to bring a bigger audience.
I think, I suppose the humanising aspect is really interesting, isn't it? Because actually there are some people out there who are very, very polarising on social media, who almost are that polarised and they make themselves unapproachable, don't they?
Yeah.
Where you're like, I don't want to cross paths with that person.
It's that love-hate thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You see it all the time, don't you, where some of the best posts, some of the most engaged posts I've had are because you divide opinion. And if you divide opinion, you get arguments in your
feed,
engagement, which obviously pushes the post. And I think if you can put something out that's potentially trending and dividing an opinion, they are going to be your best posts that then hopefully generate traffic, which will include people you want to speak to.
So, but then that's the key, right? How do you then capitalise on that? So it's all well and good people knowing who Steve Guest is. Oh, he's the guy that is, he's
Top
the
biller.
author, he's the top biller guy, he's the guy that runs a recruitment agency or whatever. How does that then translate into somebody picking up the phone and be like, oh, mate, can you help me with X, Y, and Z?
It happens in various ways, if I'm honest. So I get a number of messages where it will be clients saying, I've seen your posts, you're obviously actively busy in the market we're in, we're looking for a QS, could you help us? Or there'll be candidates that will contact you, and this could be age-old candidates you placed 10, 15 years ago. It could be brand new ones saying, you've got all these roles, I'm interested, or I've seen your post, I know you're looking for this. On another aspect, when I was going more into kind of the video stuff in my previous employment, I was walking into networking meetings and people recognised me before I even knew who they were. And half the time you'd have people coming up and just start talking to you. And you'd have to stop them and say, I'm really sorry, I don't know who you are. Because they felt like they already had that kind of connection. I was having consultants go to their meetings in different parts of the UK that were saying, I've seen Steve doing his videos, or I've seen Steve on LinkedIn. You should get him to do this video, or get him to do a video on this.
Yeah.
And whilst I suppose on the face of it, you're thinking, well, where's the recruitment coming in there? But it's that connection.
It's the brand
and people
awareness
then,
and the, yeah, of course.
It's the building of the fact that people like to get involved. People like the journey.
You've almost, but in doing so, you've almost created this kind of this persona of expert in your market. So to be able to have the confidence to put out 10 videos on subjects, to be able to have the confidence to be able to do all of those kind of consistent post and the consistent kind of media marketing that you're doing, it takes a degree of confidence that will say, no, I know what I'm talking about, I know my shit, and therefore, like, this is me putting it out there. And I think that's where the personal brand piece comes in then, doesn't it? Is people look at that and think, this guy clearly knows what he's talking about. So
I think there's an element of that, but I mean, for me anyway, it's not rocket science, half the stuff I put out. Some of the best posts are me having a rant because LinkedIn isn't functioning properly and you put anyone else having this problem, or what
the relatable stuff.
It's
non-business focused.
It's
relatable
the stuff people want to jump on.
Person behind the brand and that kind of thing.
But I mean, there's really simple things as a recruitment consultant. So I remember putting a video out a few years ago saying I was sat in a service station and I was about to go in and meet a candidate who was a senior planning candidate, really hard to find in the construction industry. And I simply said something like, I'm really excited to meet them, can't wait to find out what they're looking for, how I can help them in their next step or their next career move.
It's a bit cheesy, that, isn't it?
It is a bit cheesy. It is a bit cheesy, but what I'm trying to highlight is I go and meet my candidates.
Yeah, no,
there's a strategy behind the fact that I'm sat there and I'm early, as always. I'm meeting the candidate and I'm looking forward to taking them to market. Yeah. And then it's the same with clients. Sat outside waiting to sign.
There's a lot more strategy behind that than here's a selfie of me sat at my desk talking about the weather.
I'm doing it on the basis that I want people to feel safe and secure. If they ring me, I'm going to do a proper job. I'm going to pre-qualify properly. I'm going to do the right thing by way of client and candidate.
Yeah.
And all you're really doing is highlighting what you would say in a meeting anyway. You're just putting it out there for everyone else to look at.
And in doing so, you're going to get candidates come to you with and you might not have a senior planning candidate that's available on as like an active candidate, but all of a sudden you're going to have then a network of senior planning guys like, oh, actually, do you know what? If you're open to meeting, I'd like to meet too because I'm potentially in the market.
Yeah.
And equally, clients as well would be looking at that thinking, this guy meets all of his candidates.
Yeah, this guy does, No, and that makes a lot of sense. I guess, do you know what? For me, the personal brand stuff is, it gets... That what you've described there is personal branding. That is, marketing 101, personal brand of this is who I am, this is what I do, and through my activity on social media, whether it's subtly suggesting it or whether it's outright suggesting it, I'm going to show you what I do for a living and how I do what I do and how I differentiate. I get that. What I don't get is the sit at your desk, take a picture of your dog, take a picture of yourself with a Starbucks cup in your hand and be like, oh, I'm really looking forward to another day of recruitment
but that's
today.
Not personal brand.
But if you Google
that's
it,
posting for posting's sake.
But if you Google it and if you
dub
go
that as
through
personal brand, don't they?
But this is the point, right? It gets those lines are now starting to get blurred. If you go on to Tristan, go on LinkedIn search bar and just type in personal brand, you see the amount of crap that happens
across the
through
board.
feeds.
But I think that's
take your testimonials for example. If you like now, testimonials aren't worth the paper they're written on because clients will be like, oh, you've fully just made them up. And even like your LinkedIn testimonials and stuff like that, like people can have 150 different LinkedIn testimonials. If I'm looking at a candidate, I rarely look at the LinkedIn testimonials.
I don't look at those. I don't look at their likes and shares anymore because you got LinkedIn pods. You got people that like have created an entire business on the back of. Get people together to like and share each other's shit and give each other.
Well, this is my point. I don't think that's exclusive
for what they do.
It's not exclusive to personal brand, though, is it? It's kind of that has almost been created across the board in kind of, I think, all things. Let's focus on recruitment for a second, but all things recruitment. We used to have it at the agencies that we worked at. It's like you'd put a LinkedIn post out, which is like, oh, I'm recruiting for this job. Can you all like and share it? And then you'd have everybody jumping on there. Done it for you. Liked and shared. And all that's happening is it's just going out to the same network of people every time. It's not reaching anyone else.
And half the time it's internal.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think it's finding the balance between. I always think as a recruitment consultant, you almost you've got X amount of hurdles to get through when you put a post out anyway, because clients and candidates don't necessarily want to show the world that they're linked with a recruiter in the first place.
Yeah.
So why are they going to comment or like a post? Because they're going to have questions internally. Well, why are you friends with Steve?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You shouldn't even be talking to a consultant. You should be happy where you are.
Yeah.
So you're already on a bit of a hide into nothing anyway.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of profess that when I put posts out, I have no a thought in terms of how much engagement is on that post at all. I'm doing it because I'm trying to post twice a day, 5 times a week. And if I can consistently do that, it generates leads because I know it works.
You're attracting the audience that's relevant to you.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
It. Yeah.
And
They
a
say
lot
that-
of the engagement comes off the platform.
Yeah.
So even if you've got a post and you look at that and go, Steve's talking a load of rubbish, he's only got 4 likes on that. What's the point? But off the back of that, you're getting emails and messages where people are saying, I've seen your post, I've sent you my CV, can you give me a call?
And I think it also depends on what the end goal is, right? So if you could have 4,000 likes on your post, right, and no in-mails, or you can have 4 likes on your post and 10 in-mails. So I know which one I'd rather.
Yeah,
4,000 likes is about the same number as what my mortgage payments are. So, that's what I need those to make bills pay.
Yeah.
In content marketing, it's really key that you say that, because a lot of people, and we've had people work here that are kind of that sort of Gen Z and young millennial, right?
Yeah.
Who will be petrified putting anything out on LinkedIn. They are scared to do it. Right, why are you scared? Well, I only got 2 likes. My poll only got five votes in the first hour, and they take it down. And I'm like, right, in content marketing, the visual metrics that you can see are not the important ones. The metrics that are important are behind the scenes, the click-through ratios, the impressions, because that's the stuff that actually matters. Right? How many people, it doesn't matter who liked it, who shared it, who commented on it, did people see this? Because if people saw it, it's in their mind. Because not everybody's confident enough to comment on a public platform. Not everybody has bosses that are allowing them to use LinkedIn in that manner as a social network. They only want LinkedIn to be used in a business and professional manner. So if you put out something about a debate and 10,000 people it's been impressed on, but only 5 people have commented, that's not to say that only 5 people cared. The truth of that is completely different.
You have so many conversations.
You'll see a post or I'll see a post, and you just private message. We'll DM that message to each other. Be like, oh, I've seen this. So that won't show up as an engagement.
But
on
you have,
LinkedIn.
I mean, over time, I've had so many people talk to me saying, I've followed your journey on LinkedIn, or I've followed your journey on Facebook.
Got to throw me a like, mate.
Yeah, well, exactly. I didn't even know you existed, and you've been telling me you've followed me for years. And
no, but that's the point. Who cares whether they give you a like or not? Who cares, right?
Well, and that's it. The fact is, we're talking.
But we seem to. People seem to, and I guess that if you're bringing that up in your in the personal brand story, and you're mentioning that as a look, the vanity metrics, and it's the same old business thing, right? The turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, right? It's exactly the same thing, exactly the same. If all you're caring about is the likes and the shares of your post, rather than the actual metrics that mattered, i.e. I put this out and actually had 3 candidates get in touch with me, and the client that I had emailed had finally got back in touch. I'll give you a great example. We were putting out recently a lot of the little snippets and stuff like that, and there's a guest that we approached for the podcast before we even did that first recording and a pilot episode, and he was very umming and ahhing. I don't know, I'm not sure, I'm very selective with what I do, who I do it with, that kind of thing. Let's leave it a little while, let's see kind of what happens. And then I got back in touch with him after the first 3 episodes went out, and we're like, look, here's some more content for you to look at. Nothing. Didn't hear back from him. Then we started putting out the sort of the stuff that we're putting out now, with the split screen stuff and that kind of stuff. And he's messaged me, really sorry, I've been really busy, blah blah blah. Let's get this done. When can I appear? He hasn't liked or shared or commented on a single one of those posts. A single one of those. I don't think he even follows our page.
Okay.
But he knows about us.
Well, hang on, let's find out if Steve's following our page and if he's
I know we're pretty engaged, aren't we?
But no, I think
I think all of that conversation brings you back to the end goal that we talked to at the start.
Which is the key thing, isn't it?
For me to grow a personal brand and put posts out, I'm not too fussed. Obviously, you want engagement, but I don't sit there and measure it.
And I think you're right. I think because it comes down to what the end goal is going to be. Because look, it's no secret that when you get to a certain level of kind of influence in social media, there's sponsorships available, there's advertising revenue available, and all that sort of stuff. If that's what you're going for, then absolutely you need to go for the likes and the shares and all that sort of stuff. However, if what you're trying to do is kind of reach a specific niche audience, and that's what you're aiming for, then having a handful of likes and shares and comments and all that sort of stuff is way better. And it's the same with the turnover and profit thing as well, isn't it? Really, I mean, like most
turnover is still key, because there are people out there who give a shit about that. Right?
Yeah, and there's, if you're looking to sell a business, or if you're looking to kind of scale or whatever, what tends to happen is investors or potential buyers will look at it and think, right, okay, well, what are you turning over? What are your sales? Because for a lot of these guys, what they'll look at is, okay, if you're turning over X amount of million and your profit's piss poor, well then we just have to tweak how you do your business. Yeah. Because you're obviously getting the sales. We just have to tweak what that looks like. In the same way that if your end goal is, I want to be an influencer, well, 4 likes just ain't going to cut it, Steve. You're going to have to work a bit harder.
That's it, isn't it?
You're not cut out for it.
You have like marketing gurus that say we can increase your engagement on LinkedIn and things. I get them all the time. And you look at them and they've got 400 followers, or
we feel that way about recruitment coaches and stuff like that. Do you know, like, I can help you scale and grow your recruitment business to like turn over 7-8 figures.
Where's your scaled recruitment business then?
It's all horses for courses, isn't it? And I think I've hit the 30k buffer on LinkedIn, and I did that probably a couple of years ago, and I always used to have internal conversations that are like, well, you can't manage that, a waste of time. Why have you got 30k and you don't get that sort of engagement on your posts? I've just got like a little dedicated small list of security engineers that I manage, and I just keep it to that. I don't let anyone else in. I'm like, well, you're limiting your potential by just saying I'm going to make a decision as to who these people are. You don't know why people want to connect. And I think I have a viewpoint that I want lots of opportunities. I want to have discussions about opportunities and things that you can go in and
be able to
have an adventure with.
Show me something I don't know. Bring something to my attention that makes me go, oh, wow.
A lot of what I've done over the years, certainly over the last few, has come from the fact that people have seen what I've done on social media to then send you a message, say, would you do a talk here? Would you do a live Q&A with our company doing X, Y, and Z? That isn't coming from anything other than...
Again, we engaged on LinkedIn to get you onto here, right? You could have gone... I've got no interest in accounting and finance recruitment or whatever else that is you're doing.
I'm just a nice guy. That's what it is.
But you've gone, I could do with the extra connection.
You're in recruitment, you're a top biller. There's no way you're a nice
guy. I think it's for me. It's about. I read a book called A Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley quite a few years ago, and I've met him a couple of times. And I met him in London. I don't know when it was, maybe 2016, 17, and he wrote in my copy. A key person of influence within construction or something like that, and signed it. And it was all about creating online assets, have things that work when you're not at work, having the ability to still be talking or marketing to people when you're not picking up the phone and having a conversation. And I think it just sets something in my head where it's, if you can create enough online talk and marketing and media, then actually things are working while you're not having to do everything.
Because you're doing that on your own. I'm quite blessed in that I have no real talent or interest when it comes to kind of the online creative and all that sort of stuff, which is why it works really well for me, because I've got Nitin he loves that and he's so good at it, right? And
case in point the other day, yesterday, when I was like talking about logos and websites, I was like, the fun bit, and you were like, fuck that, that's the worst bit.
It's like thinking of like company names and thinking of like
that's the fun bit.
Colour schemes and logos. It's like, I don't care about that. Just give me a phone, give me a CRM, and let me just go at it, because that's the stuff that I enjoy. What I enjoy is engaging with the end user, the clients, the candidates, and having a bit of a laugh and joke with them. And I'm generally a cheeky chappy when it comes to kind of the way I converse with people anyway, and that's the bit that I really enjoy. When it comes to sitting down on the laptop and doing this logo's slightly out, actually maybe we should adjust this and adjust that. He came to me the other day because we were putting up a free to use job board for Rector X on our Rectal site. And he was like, "Here, what do you think of these? What do you think of these names for the job board?" And I'm like, bro, you're coming to the wrong guy. Like, I just don't have that my wife, she's really creative, right? She's a great artist, and so are my kids now as well. My son can draw like real good anime stuff and whatnot. I struggle with stickmen. Like, that's just that part of my creative brain just doesn't function. It just doesn't exist. So for me, I'm lucky that I've got him who can he could do all of that. Whereas you've kind of had to just, whether you're good at it or not is irrelevant. You've got to just kind of get on with it.
I think you learn. And I mean, my degree was accountancy and finance and marketing management. So there's a marketing element, but I'm also kind of Mr. Stato and spreadsheet, kind of monotone in the background.
You're very methodical.
I'm really processed.
You like everything where it should be.
Yeah, I think if it gets booked into the calendar or the diary, it gets done. And I've always been that way.
You're quite rigid with that then?
I am really methodical, and I'm having conversations with consultants over the years because I'm kind of the extreme end of what a typical recruiter is. Most recruiters are here, give me the phone and I'll make things happen. I'm like, I want all the research and detail first, and then
everything. Yeah.
And I've kind of had to move a little bit this way, and I try and get consultants to move a little bit the other way.
Can you freestyle a bit as well then? Are you like rapping on me now? But
did you see the fear of God in my face?
I thought he was. I was like, where the fuck are you going with this? Yeah.
No, so are you quite sort of flexible in terms of how
can you wing it, or do you really have to think everything through and kind of like?
I like to be well versed in what. Yeah. Okay. So we talk about disc profiles. I'm a high C. I'm a structure, research, detail. I want to know the answers before I give an answer.
Yeah.
I would sit in directors' meetings and say, look, I might be the quiet one taking a stupid amount of notes at the back. I will come back when I'm ready to give an opinion.
Yeah.
But it's not always me that's going to shoot a hand up and say, you should do it like this or you should do this, because I want to know. And I suppose over the years, most recruiters are high Ds, dominance, relationship builders, out there, outgoing.
Dive into everything both feet first.
Yeah,
just
completely.
Like, see what happens. Yeah,
which definitely
initial and worry about that.
It definitely has its place. But what I think I've learned over the years is most recruiters will have a good month, bad month, good month or bad month, and they won't know how they've got there. Whereas I'm the person that knows exactly why I've done what I've done, because I know the data, I know the KPIs and the stats.
Yeah.
And I think to have really good recruiters consistently, it's trying to find that balance in between where I don't bore a consultant so much that they're thinking, oh my God, I've got to write all these things down.
I think that's the importance, isn't it? Balance.
Yeah.
Is that because I'm a to-do list kind of guy. So I've recently transitioned from a notepad to my iPad, which has just been a really fucking glorified paperweight for a while, hasn't it? And I'm like,
I've just bought one of them. Have you seen them? Oh, what are they called?
Oh, the Remarkables.
Yeah, I've got one of them.
Are they good?
Well, I've used it for the first 2 months. I haven't touched it for probably the last 4.
See, that's where I was with the iPad.
I just forget it. And I've always got my notepad with me, so...
And this is it, because I like writing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've got nice pens and stuff like that. That's my thing. People have watches, I have pens. I've got really nice pens. And
I bought a fountain pen last year. Honestly, it's amazing.
Pen, that's old school.
Honestly, amazing.
No, but that's classy though. Like, that's classy.
Apart from when the paper seeps through and you can only use one side of the page.
So you're supposed to. So there's a trick with that. This is how much of a pen enthusiast I am. You're supposed to have like this thing that you put underneath each paper.
Really?
Yeah. So then when you're writing with a fountain pen, you're supposed to have like this little like layer.
Yeah, it's like carbon paper underneath, isn't it?
Basically, and it just soaks up all the excess.
That's what I'm going to be doing when I get home.
Yeah, mate. I tell you, pen enthusiast. I love them. Yeah, I've got a weird obsession with them. In fact, my wife bought me a Mont Blanc for Christmas last year or the year before, or something like that.
Year before, wasn't it?
And it's got like this wax stamp seal.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. I haven't used it yet because I want to use it for something really special.
You don't write letters.
Send me a thank you letter for coming to that.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
With the stamp.
With the seal, yeah. We'll have a Michael Sharmavich seal. But yeah, so I'm like a to-do list kind of guy. So I've recently transitioned to like the iPad, right? And I started using OneNote, and I just found myself not being able to cope with it because it's messy. It's like I'll rub one thing out once I've done it, and it's like, oh yeah, but now I don't know kind of what that note was anymore because
I struggle with that.
So I'm thinking about going back to the notepad, but then I spoke to who was that lady from Logic Melon? We went to the expert the other day. Jessie. Was it Jessie? Reach out to Jessie from Logic Melon. She introduced me to this app, and it's basically just a notebook. And it's one of those free to use ones. Literally, you can write in different types of pens and different. It's so good. I was like, I think I've found.
It's got you hooked.
Yeah, well, this is it. So I'm at that point now where I'm like, right, okay, I'm back to my to-do list. And do you know what I found is I'm increasingly already more efficient because I've just got. Because what I can't do is I can't do the methodical process of 9 a.m. I'm going to do this, 9:30 I'm going to do this, so on and so forth. Because it doesn't work for me. I feel.
I see. I'm pretty good at that, and I think I've just structured my environment and the way I work for such a long time. It's things like, it sounds really bad, but this is just me managing my time in terms of taking calls from, I don't know, friends, family or personal calls. It's still between 12 and 2. If you're going to get hold of me, they're the best times to speak to me. If you try me between 9 and 12 and 2 till 5, I'm making sales calls.
Yeah, I do that.
Robot, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think it. Do you know what? I think it's just built in, and I'm honest with clients and candidates. If you're ringing me for an update or a catch up, ring me between 12 and 2 because you will get me. If you ring me between 9 and 12 or 2 and 5, I'm trying to find you a role or trying to fill your vacancy.
Yes,
so
there's no need for
ring me
to,
when I've got time to kind of speak to you, or before 9 or
I
after.
do that with sales calls as well. People call me for sales calls. Like that was Broadbean called me just before we went out, and I was like, "Yeah, just call me like 1 o'clock." Just between.
I think
between
it's just having, I suppose, an awareness, and you value your time.
Yeah,
I want to do well. I want to be able to spend my time in the right areas, and if I'm structured enough during the day, it means you can shoot off at 4 to pick the kids up or do whatever you need to do, or do all the extracurricular stuff, and not feel guilty for I didn't fit in enough stuff this morning. Or
see, there's the other side to that is me. I will get up when I want. I'll take a call whenever or whatever time it is. I don't care. I don't have a particular structure to my diary, short of when the podcasts are booked in. Like I don't really use my diary. I don't have a to-do list. It's literally just a go through life.
Fly by the seat of my pants.
Just see what happens.
What am I going to do today?
No, but
that's most recruiters
but
as well.
I work in bursts.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is when I'm focused on something, I will focus on it and get it done.
Yeah.
And then move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
But my attention span is so limited as well that what I find is the quality of my work in that short burst is higher than most people's.
Yeah.
Over a day of working, right? And then that kind of comes out in terms of BD calls and stuff. So I will make less BD calls than people around me, but I'll get more success off them.
Yeah.
And then one could argue, oh well, if you just did that, 10 times, think about how much more money you'd make. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm kind of happy with what I've done and achieved.
But also the
and now I need my downtime. I need my watch
the recuperation
TikTok, have a fag
time,
or a vape now, or you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I need my kind of like to. It's the chimp paradox.
Yeah.
Like I've trained my chimp to be like, no, I can make you focus for half an hour, 45 minutes at max.
Yeah.
Then we get to fuck about. So just go and sit over there for a minute. Like, let me do this, and then
play
we'll
in
go
the corner, and then
It'll be great. But it took me ages to figure that out.
Yeah.
It took me ages to accept that about myself, because society and kind of the education system and the working for sort of that generation above us, they don't work like that. They never have worked like that. It's sit down, shut up, do your job, right? I pay you from this time to this time. I expect you to be sat at your desk. And I'm like, I physically can't do it. I can't. And if you make me, you're going to see a horrible side of me.
Well, you rebel even more.
I'm going to distract people around me. I'm going to do shit that's going to piss you off. So, let's figure it out. So so that it's not it doesn't work for everybody. So, which brings me to
I completely get that.
The question I want to ask you is then, personal brand, can anybody do it? Can any? Because
I believe they can, with the right structure, and I think the whole purpose of personal brand is it's you, and it's doing things that you're comfortable with in a way that still showcases your message. So when I'm talking to recruitment consultants and they're struggling with what do I post, how do I do it, I'm not confident or comfortable doing it. It's trying to think of ways to showcase what you do and how you do it. If you sat in front of a client and they said, why would I use you? What would you say? How would you explain it? What sort of message would you convey? Could you put that in text, or could you put it on a post? So you
formulate it in some way. And
doing things, personal branding, social media, videos and various things is scary. Doing live podcasts, doing your first webinar, doing all these things.
Freestyle rapping,
break dancing, anything. Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah,
and I think we've all got a journey to go on, whatever that looks like. I was a holiday rep years and years ago, and I was still the same sort of character. And we used
you, but I wouldn't want you as my holiday rep. If I'm in Malia with the lads, I don't want this guy coming in and be like, right, boys, we're going to get up at 8 o'clock. We're going to 8:05.
I've got my clipboard.
You need to be awake and teeth brushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would be me. Yeah, this is your wake up call.
Yeah. First shot at 11 o'clock. Not a minute before then.
I went to school, I was an academic, I worked really hard, went to uni, found a little bit of life outside of work and writing things down and everything else. And then got out of uni, I was still that quiet, unassuming person, and I thought I needed to do something that is so far out of my comfort zone to almost kind of give me that kick up the backside. And so I went off to be a holiday rep, and used to do bar crawls. There weren't huge bar crawls. It was Fuerteventura. It was classed as like a family island. Excellent. So it wasn't like your Ibiza.
I'm going to get out of my comfort zone. But
I didn't get to choose, unfortunately. I was going to Gran Canaria, and then they changed last minute. Sent me to Fuerteventura.
They're usually the better ones. We used to go to Mallorca in a little family resort on our lads' holiday all the time.
Do you know what? It was
fun,
good. So we would do bar crawls, and there'd be anything from maybe 50 to 150 people max. And when they used to introduce the reps at the start of the bar crawl, whoever was leading the bar crawl, chief rep, head rep, whatever it was, would call you out and they'd get you to do something that was really embarrassing. So they used to say I was the UK breakdancing champion.
I need to see this.
No, well, I'd probably injure myself these days. But you used to have to break dance in front of 150 people. And honestly, I was awful. I can't dance anyway, never mind break dance. There was one where I had to do a duet. Was it Dancing in the Street? I think it was. And they'd put two mics at the opposite ends of the stage. And I had to sing, which I can't do either. It was all the bits that you've dropped out in conversation that you hated.
Yeah.
To then go and do it. And I'm forever grateful for those moments because they were horrible. And I genuinely hated every second of doing those elements of what we're meant to do.
But it's that facing your fears kind of concept, though, isn't it?
Well, and I think that's the same with social media and putting yourself out there. It's not easy. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do things that haven't worked or don't get the engagement. But it's the fact that you just get back up and have another go.
It's a consistency, isn't it?
That's all it is.
Consistency will beat the sort of the failure and the resistance piece.
I think so.
When you think about when we were in lockdown, we talked about kind of March, everything shuts down, all that sort of stuff. By that kind of summertime, I remember my LinkedIn feed was full of videos from people that I wouldn't even expect to be in front of a camera, from a confidence level and that kind of thing. And then sure enough, it just peaked off and just dropped off quickly because people tried it, did it. I'm not really comfortable with this. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I sound. And, those kind of nuance insecurities.
I have all of that with
have.
everything I put out. Every video, I think the same. I've never watched,
really?
But I've never listened
it's fascinating
back.
You say that because you're on the cover of your fucking book. Do you know what I mean? But you look at that person there and you think, oh yeah, this guy's like cocksure of himself, going to be like, oh lads,
right? Local headshot photographer. We did 4 or 5 headshots with me sat in a chair, smiling, hands on lap, doing the normal sort of stuff. And then she went, now go crazy. And I was like, what? She went, just go crazy, just wave your arms about and do something. I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. And she went, no, you need to do it. I was like, I really don't want to do it. I don't feel comfortable. And I pushed it into such a level that was really, really uncomfortable. She went, yeah, get off the stool, just kind of dance about a bit. That's what that photo is. And honestly, out of all of them, easily the best photo.
It's a great picture, yeah.
But the pain behind getting to that point is horrific.
Yeah, but what you don't see is the back of the shirt is just
people
like dripping with sweat.
Yeah.
People don't know. Yeah,
people don't see that in that.
Yeah, no,
they just think. And with the book Top Biller, people think or make a perception based on that is me going to be shouting about how brilliant I am. And it's not. It's not about that kind of look how much I build. I'm out there. Nobody's ever going to compete.
Yeah, it's not a journal, is it?
What would you call it? I am top biller.
I've had so many people saying, "Well, I've built more than you. What was your billing month?" And you sat there going,
"That's the recruitment equivalent of." Well, what school did you go to?
Yeah, but you'd be amazed at how many consultants. I've had people ring the office and go, "Oh, is that top biller?" And you're like, well, it's Steve. And they just hang up and you're like, what? It brings a whole level of difference.
That's hilarious. Yeah. But yeah, people don't see that sort of stuff because you're not out there telling everybody, oh yeah, by the way, stop calling me and ringing me up and telling me, or telling me you build more.
People just think it comes naturally and it's easy to do, which it isn't.
Far from it. Actually, if you look at like professional athletes, right? A lot of people will look at, let's say, footballers and be like, yeah, but I mean, they're born with that sort of talent.
Yeah. Overnight success.
Yeah. I know so many people in the football community who are super, super talented who just never made it because they just didn't have the consistency and the discipline to be able to go through the bits that they needed to. And that's generally speaking what it comes down to.
I think that's all it is. And look, I'm a very reserved person, and I kind of
Different
always.
from when you were stood on the table going, look at me, I'm the top biller.
There's a bench pressing the chairs around the corner. I think it just, again, getting back to it, it's the end goal. The fear that I have of doing certain things, or the pain of going through and making mistakes, the ability to highlight who I am, sell more books, get the engagement I need, be successful, run a successful business, provide opportunity to my family and kids, and so we can do all the nice things in life. That goal is so up here that actually you can shout abuse at me all day long.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I have zero cares. I do not give two what's it's, because
It has no impact on your
actually I'm doing things with integrity and honesty, and I'm trying to do things that hopefully add value to other people that do what we do, with the ability that I can do all the nice stuff if it all works. If it doesn't, you take it on the chin.
So looking at your books then, so kind of for those people who think that Top Biller is a journal of like how great you are.
How I became.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Personal Brand is another follow-on journal for how you...
I'm even better now.
yeah. Tell us a little bit about Top Biller, tell us a bit about Personal Brand.
Top Biller is the story of me being that quiet consultant, not the high-fiving, gong-ringing, loud consultant. It's a journey of actually being told no or you'd never make it, to showing that actually good process, good service, doing things in the right way can lead you to be a successful consultant if you work hard at it. Personal Brand is pretty much the same thing. It's a story of actually you don't have to be perfect, you don't have to be loud, you don't have to be the big salesy flash person to actually make a success of either. You can just do things, and if you're consistent and persistent and you work hard at it, you can get some success.
Would you say that these are, I hate to use the word self-help, but are they kind of like self-help books? Are they more sort of books around, if you try and do things this way, this is what could happen? Or is it more about telling your story?
It's a bit of everything. The kind of messages that people don't get to see, certainly for Top Biller, are things that I've empowered people that perhaps don't necessarily feel like they fit in within recruitment consultants, because they are the quiet one, or actually they needed reminding of processes they did years ago and they've stopped it for whatever reason, and now they think, why did I stop that? That actually worked. I'm going to put that back in. Top Biller is about my processes and procedures and the bits that I do each day that actually bring success. Personal Brand talks about all sorts, from LinkedIn, social media, webinars, podcasts, writing the first book and putting yourself out there, and actually having the ability to be torn down at any minute, but still willing to carry on anyway.
Perfect.
So what's the next one?
I'm not going to tell you.
You haven't launched it?
It's not launched, so it's going through its, I think it's on its third draft. But
draft, mate.
Third draft.
That's poor. You should have had it done by 2 books in. You should have had it done by the first, at least
honestly,
second draft.
We were saying before this they're becoming tougher.
Yeah.
I think Top Biller was about 18 months to write, with a bit of a gap in between. Personal Brand was about 12, 14 months. This one's probably about 10.
Really?
And then
you'll be slapping books out once a week soon.
Well, I've started Top Biller 2. And
this
just putting some notes together. This time, it's a good one. Yeah, look at me now. So Top Biller 2 is hopefully going to be as good as Top Biller 1, with everything that's changed. Well, certainly since 2000.
You should call it second best Top Biller.
Yeah.
All right, so how about we have a look at, we've got Top Biller and Personal Brand that you bought kindly for us today. Why don't we offer it out as a signed copy? Have you got happy to sign them?
Yeah.
We'll get signed copies, and then we'll do a bit of a giveaway to kind of anybody that's listening to the podcast. We'll put a competition together.
All our 4 listeners.
Yeah.
No, we have we've just hit 1,000
though.
subscribers on YouTube.
Amazing.
Yeah,
1,000
right
subscribers.
there, and we've had we are just short of 500 all-time plays.
Okay.
On Spotify channel.
Awesome.
And so we don't get the metrics for Apple because they're a bit funny about giving them to us, but we do know that 48% of our listeners are Apple users. So yeah, I mean, going by those metrics, I would say that we're number 1 podcast in the recruitment industry,
based out of Westwood Business Park.
Yeah. It's all about the stats.
Yeah.
But no, Steve, thank you so much for giving us your time today. Really
It's been a
appreciate it.
pleasure.
It's been really good.
I've enjoyed it.
What have you got going on over the next few weeks and months then in terms of webinars, training that you're running?
Yeah, I think it's just cracking on. We've got the second cohort for the 12-week recruitment mastery program.
Okay.
When you tell us a little bit about that as well.
Yeah, tell us
actually,
about
just
that.
kind of-
Go on,
So
give that a plug.
So that was born out of, in lockdown, lots of people on furlough, lots of recruiters on furlough, and I think there was lots of insecurities about what was around the corner.
Yeah.
I put a post out on LinkedIn, funnily enough, and I said if there's
Is
any...
it your morning or your lunchtime one?
It was the morning one,
Right, there you go.
and it was on a Wednesday.
And was it one of your 2 human ones or your 7?
Wow, I'll let you decide. I basically said, if you're a recruiter and you're on furlough or you sat at home and you're a bit worried about what's around the corner, or you want to use this time to try and upskill or develop or come up with new strategies, I'm going to free up my week next week, Monday to Friday, and you can book in for a 30-minute Zoom and we'll have a chat and see what we can do.
Great.
And if I'm honest, I thought probably maybe 8 to 10 people would book in. It'd be ex-colleagues, friends, people just knocking about it.
Chit chat, yeah.
Obviously, we're all stuck at home as well. It ended up being 62 recruiters, and it was global. I didn't know any of the 62.
Brilliant.
It was recruiters in Hong Kong, Singapore, South Africa, New Zealand, Canada, US,
All
Australia.
markets that you've had experience in.
Well, exactly, yeah. It was all different sectors as
Let me
well.
tell you about the Indonesian recruitment market.
Honestly, it was crazy. So I was sat in the study at home in lockdown, and it was back-to-back Zoom calls.
Excellent.
Monday to Friday. It was exhausting because you've got a 30-minute window to catch interest from the person you're speaking to, try and add some value and understand their problems, and then get ready for the next one. Off the back of that, what I realised was there were so many recruiters without proper training or without methodical training and process, or they were struggling in certain areas where I knew I could add value. Me being me, I've got, 4,000 notebooks that I've put notes in over the years, created what is now called the 12-week recruitment mastery program. That's gone through 3 years. I think we're probably on about 9 or 10 cohorts. It's trained just short of 100 people. It's now accredited by the REC. So last year and this year I'm working in partnership to
I saw that on
the course
Rectals,
across.
yeah.
So you're going, is that individual to a recruiter, or are you working with businesses as well?
It's both.
How you
So
delivering it,
initially, I started out to empower the recruiter. So I wanted the recruitment consultant to put their hand in their pocket and invest and say, I want to be better. And I had a number of people that would come through saying, I want to be the top billing consultant and I want you to help me. I don't want you to tell anyone. I just want to do this for myself. That was the whole idea to start with.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, the engagement was sky high. It was brilliant. It was consistent. It was run through a Facebook group, and it was really interactive. We took the Facebook group onto a training platform.
Yeah.
Once I knew the videos and the content worked, and then it was a bit of a mix between businesses and individuals, and the engagement levels dropped a little bit because obviously they're not putting their hand in their pocket.
Well, Benjamin Denny said this, right? When he does his training courses, he was saying, he goes that he wants some sort of commitment and investment from, because the training belongs to the person being trained.
Yeah, whether you're paying for it or whether you're giving up a bit of your commission or whatever, you've got to have some sort of vested interest and skin in the game. Yeah,
I think so. And I think what I wanted to do, the feedback I've had over the years was recruiters will go to a training day or training weekend or 3 days in London or whatever it might be, and they're disengaged the moment they set foot there because they're thinking, I need to make that call, I need to go back to that client, I've got interviews happening. So they're just waiting for the break or the lunchtime to go back and do what they need to do. And I wanted to develop something that was done over a period of time that you could dip in and out. It's bite-sized chunks of videos of content across 12 modules. And you can access it immediately and you can go through it. We do like a live Zoom every 2 weeks that's interactive, and we get previous delegates that come along and current people within the cohort. And we just talk through recruitment scenarios, problems, hurdles, or some of the modules that perhaps people aren't or are struggling with or need some extra help. I say so that's been running well. We're in a current cohort at the moment. Third book hopefully should be done and dusted in a few weeks. Yeah,
and then you fit recruitment in between that as well, don't you?
Fit recruitment in. I still actively recruit. Have done throughout, to be fair.
Yeah.
We've got a team of 5 of us, predominantly construction, and predominantly perm. It's all exciting.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, look, Steve, appreciate you coming down.
A pleasure.
If anybody wants to book onto the recruitment mastery course, how do they do that?
Yeah, just drop me a message. I can send more details, or you can go through the REC if you remember, because you get your discount. So
check it out.
Excellent. There you go.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Steve, we'd love to have you back on at some point in the future.
yeah, love to.
Hopefully when the third book's out.
Yeah.
Give you a chance to plug the arse off that. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and listening if you're still here. This has been one of the more well-timed podcasts, I think. So
I
yeah,
think
it's
so.
been good. But no, appreciate your time.
A pleasure.
Any
Definitely.
closing thoughts?
I think just keep going. Just keep moving forward.
Just keep going.
Just keep moving forward. We all have good days and bad days, and I think it's the ability
Consistency,
to get
isn't
back
it?
up. It's just getting
That's
back
the key
up,
message, isn't it? Yeah.